Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. So if everybody would please stand, Dr. Travis Moffitt is going to lead us in our invocation.
If you'd like to pray, please join with me. Father, we come to you with humble hearts because we truly have so much to be thankful for. Your mercy, your grace, and your faithfulness have been continuously given to us freely every day, even though we probably don't deserve it most of the time. Thank you that our ultimate hope, peace, and joy can be found in you and you alone. Thank you for the administrators, teachers, and staff of our district. As we look forward to this new school year, I pray that you would prepare their hearts and minds with a renewed sense of purpose to teach, to mentor, and to love all the students that walk in their classrooms with kindness, patience, and love. Never let us take for granted or take lightly the responsibility of building up the next generation. Lord, we pray for protection at all our campuses every day. We thank you for the men and women of Constable Jones' office that choose to protect us. Give them discernment and wisdom over the people coming and going in our schools so that they can make the best decisions possible for the safety of every child and adult inside. Lord, we know that we are a bunch of imperfect people trying to make the best decisions possible for our school district. Please give us wisdom, discernment, and peace about the direction of Magnolia ISD. And just lastly, just help us to glorify you tonight in everything we say and do. It's in your precious Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So Mason and Byron, you guys are going to, which one's doing the U.S. flag?
I will be doing the
Okay,
US
they're
flag.
going to lead us in our pledges. Mason in the U.S. and Byron in Texas. Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, everybody but these two guys can be seated.
I wanted to introduce you to these two students. This past spring, in April, we began an all-state audition for the Texas State Choral Directors Association, and it's an audition process. 10 students from Magnolia Junior High and 6 students from Bear Branch Junior High began the process. The entire state, over 900 students, 7th and 8th graders, tried out, and 200 made it to the all-audition TCDA All-State Choir, and these are 2 of the students. So from Magnolia Junior High, sponsored by Miss Sylvia Garza over here, wave at us. This is Mason Clarkson, and he was one of the ones selected. He's now a freshman at Magnolia West High School, and he was a bass in the All-State Choir, and this he's a tenor 2 at Magnolia West. And this is Byron Beard, and he was a 7th grader last year, 8th grader this year at Bear Branch Junior High. He was sponsored by Miss Taya Persinger over there, wave at us. And she's now she all grown up, and she went to Magnolia High School. And their parents are here. We've got John and Belinda Clarkson over here, and then Melissa Beard up front. And what I wanted to do is say thank you so much to the board and the district administration and our campus administration for supporting the arts, because these students were able to represent us well in between band camps and choir camps and vacations and scouting camps and so forth. Had a very full summer, but also had some music to learn. And so they did a great job representing us well, and it's my honor tonight to present Mason Clarkson and Byron Beard for TCDA All-State Choir. Let's give them a big round of applause.
We're kind of hoping they'd sing for us tonight. Great job, guys. Thank you. Congratulations. That's awesome. Okay, Normally, we would take a break at this point, but we just got started, so there's not much point for a break. So we're going to go now into audience participation. Chris, I think I've gotten some forms from you. Are there any more?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay, all right. I'm required to read a statement about the audience participation tonight, and I'll read this. And just know that we've got a few that want to speak tonight, which is great. And normally we allow a little more time for that per person, but since we've got several that want to do it, we're going to allow everybody that wants to speak that's turned in a form an opportunity to do so, or we're going to cut the minutes back just a few per person, again, to allow everybody an opportunity. So I'll read this to you. Participants must have turned in a request form and must have followed administrative channels before addressing the board. Participation is limited to 2 minutes. Any complaint or charge brought against an employee by name opposition must be addressed through proper administrative channels and will not be addressed directly through this agenda item. Delegations of 5 or more persons shall appoint one person to present their views before the board. Please note that the Board of Trustees shall not deliberate, respond, or make decisions regarding any subject that is not included on the agenda that is posted. So with that, we'll start with the first person that signed up. I believe it's Beverly Townsend. I may get some of these names wrong, but Beverly is first.
Let them know to go.
Mr. I go?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, exactly. Good point, Chuck. Thank you. Each time, Beverly, so everybody after you, please go up to the podium and speak into the microphone so we can hear you well.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes. Okay, I'm nervous. It's the first time I've done this. Okay, am I ready? Go. Okay, so I'm here to speak about the bus route. The bus is not coming down my street like it has in years past. And they told me that it was because it wouldn't turn around at the end. There are some issues. And I've addressed these issues 3 years in a row in the past, and the Transportation Department has always said that they would send the bus down my road due to safety concerns. And this year, they've decided not to. The safety concerns have not gone away. There's a registered sex offender that lives on my street, still lives there. There was a 16-year-old girl that was raped last year on my street. There are no sidewalks. There are no street lights. I'm not there to be with my child in the mornings to walk him down the street. He would have to be picked up at 1488 on Buckshot Lane. There have been several accidents at that stop sign. There's no light there. There was a school bus that was actually rear-ended there by a pickup truck a few years ago. And I had a picture of it. I don't have it with me though, unfortunately. But there are safety concerns. I don't think that I should have to risk my child's life or safety for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason would be. So I would like to have this addressed and have it changed where the bus will come and pick my child up and drop him off safely, like it's been doing in years past. Even whenever I was young, I grew up out there, that bus has been coming down that street for 40 plus years. So I would like for that to change. And I would like to have the bus come down our street, like he said in the prayer. We pray for safety over our children, and I would like to also address that our children be kept safe. And that you would please consider this. And otherwise, I will have to pull my child out of school. I can't take him back and forth. I work. I'm a single parent. So I would hate to have to pull him out and homeschool him. He's a straight A student. He's a good kid. And that's my only option. If the bus won't come down and pick him up and drop him. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Townsend. Jennifer Schoenberg, I believe is next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Schomburg, and I live in Cimarron Country. I have 2 children that attend, Magnolia ISD schools. I'm very concerned about the bus route as well. My big concern is that it's only servicing 50% of my neighborhood, and that's a problem because, the road that they're going to have to walk on, some kids are walking 1.2 miles. We actually measured it to the bus stop. This is a 11-year-old, sorry. That's not acceptable to be dropped off and you have to walk 1.2 miles. My children have to walk not as far, but the problem is there's nowhere for them to walk except for in the middle of the street. And we have people driving close to like 40, 50 miles an hour in our neighborhood. And, that would be, I've called the police, I've done all kinds of different things, but this thing's cutting out. There's only so much that I can do. And, you know, that does constitute a hazardous traffic condition, which I do believe is against the law for y'all to have a bus route like that. So I looked up on the internet, and it looks like that's against Senate Bill 195 from the 85th Texas Legislature. That's the TEC 42.255. And they did talk about what would be a hazardous condition. They did talk about what would be hazardous traffic conditions. And I would think probably most everybody that's here would fall under that hazardous traffic conditions. If you'd like a copy of that law, I can provide that to you. But it does talk about if there's no walkway. And a lot of these people here are rural people, and they don't have walkways for their children to walk on. And that's what we have. So they're forced to walk out in the middle of the street, and they're gonna get hit by somebody. I mean, we have deer hit, we have pets hit. Next is gonna be a kid. I mean, how would that be? And it's getting ready to get dark, and we have nowhere even to stand for our bus stop. We have to stand like in the road. I don't even like to walk up to my mailbox. But anyhow, this is it. This is the law.
Thanks, Ms. Schoenberg. Next is, I believe it's Raylena Miller. Did I say that right? I hope.
You did. So like you said, my name is Raylena Miller, and I live at Highway 149 in Adams Lane. I live 1.5 miles from that intersection. I have an 11-year-old or actually 12-year-old that attends Magnolia Junior High. He's expected to walk 1.5 miles at 5 o'clock in the morning on a street that is heavily trafficked by construction traffic, because if you guys are familiar with the 249 construction, they go right by my house at 5 o'clock in the morning all night long. I have sex offenders that live behind our neighborhood, and they walk up and down our street now thanks to the construction traffic who's opened it up. A young woman that is back here, her son was hit by a car last year, and she had asked for the bus route to change by 1/2 mile, and her son was hit and his leg's broken. How many students have to get hit by a car before you guys are going to do something? You guys prayed about the safety of your students in the building, but what about the safety of the students getting to the school? The transportation director told me that it's the parents' responsibility for the safety of the students to get to and from the bus. I'm sorry, I work for a living, so I'm not home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you're gonna drop my son off at 149 in Adams Lane in 100+ degree temperatures in the middle of August. And that's okay, and that's safe? Tell me in what world that that's safe?
Thank you, Ms. Miller. The next one is, looks like Buck Massey. All right, we'll go to Michael Johnson.
I guess kind of like everybody else is saying up here, we're all concerned about our kids. For the last 5 years, you know, we live on Branding Iron Lane, and we have a huge cul-de-sac that measures 197 feet across. We called the bus barn because they moved it to the corner, you know, 8/10 of a mile away from our house, and said it was because of economic cutbacks and they wanted to save money, and they didn't want the buses to turn around. When I called up and spoke to the director, she said, well, you guys live on a dirt road, you know, where the bus has to turn around. I said, well, you guys have been picking our kids up there for the last 5 years, and there's never been an issue or concern. and they want to save money, but yet they want to put our kids in jeopardy. There's no sidewalks, just like everybody else is saying, no street lights, just like everybody else is saying. And at the corner where our new bus stop is, on Hitching Post and and Wagon Wheel, there's 5 level 5 sex offenders that all have indecency with a child under the age of 13. But then that's safe for our kids to go there. Like everybody else is saying, my wife works, I work. I leave the house at 5 o'clock in the morning. My wife leaves the house at 6 o'clock in the morning. We have no way to get our kids to this bus stop. There is nothing gonna change about driving down Branding Iron to a huge, cul-de-sac where the bus has always turned around for the last 5 years and never had any concerns about it. You guys don't have to back up there. All the kids have always met in that cul-de-sac, and our whole neighborhood, we have a light there. We called the commissioner's office and asked for at least a street light at this new bus stop. And they said it's not in the budget. But our kids' safety is.
Thank you. The next one is Rocky Burgess.
I'll join in on the topic tonight about the bus rescheduling. I would hope that the school district in its wisdom got a impact study, but it doesn't appear that happened because I don't think it would have went through. I've witnessed, since this has changed, is mothers pushing strollers with children, with little ones running along, walking. My distance is 0.6 of a mile to a bus stop, which is about 10.5 football fields. Okay, so the other lady was 1.5 miles, so she's like 30 football fields away. This is a long way to go, and inclement weather, and we shouldn't be subjected to this. If it's about saving money, we probably need to look at a different direction. This is not something that didn't all fall through. I think from what I'm hearing, they're saying about turning a bus around, maybe a little training on driving a bus. Another point on that is, maybe I'm a little self-delusional in this area, but I kind of hope that the bus drivers, when they drop the kids off, are kind of acting as a barrier of safety, kind of recognizing people who are normally there, maybe people who weren't. At the very least, could be a witness if a child came up missing. Because we all know in this day and time that there's a lot of crazy people out there, a lot of bad things happening. And I think we need to work together on this to try to come to a better resolution. It just seems like this isn't well thought out. And if an impact study was done, please get your money back, because they didn't do a good job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. James Woods is next.
Talk about saving money. How many in this room knew that we as the taxpayers pay for the fuel of Dr. Stevens, our superintendent's gas in his personal vehicle? But we can't pay for our children's transportation back and forth. I heard a ma'am earlier say that she couldn't do nothing but pull her kid out of school. That's not true, ma'am. What you can do is you can hold this school board responsible. This school board, we as students and parents of this community, we don't get to choose our superintendent. The school board does, but we get to choose them. I left Dr. Stevens 7 messages. You know how many he returned? Not a one, 0. And I have a feeling a lot of you are the same. If he can't deal with this community's concerns, Dr. Stevens, you should look for a new job.
Jason McNew is next.
Thank you, ma'am. After
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I guess we're all here for the same concern. Of the things that we cherish and care for the most in life, right?
Right.
Okay. I got the same problem. They've requested my children to walk out to 1488. Wait on the bus. Sit on the side of 1488 and wait for the bus. The bus driver asked them to carry a flashlight and shine it at the bus so they don't miss their stop. The school board did not, the bus driver did. Y'all provide desks, you provide chairs, you don't provide flashlights. I think this is unreasonable. Saving between 600 and 900 grand a year. What would you pay for your child? What would you pay for your child? I would rob every bank in this United States to pay for my child. 600, 900 grand is not going to pay for a child. I pay my taxes, you pay your taxes. I'm sure everybody in this room pays their taxes. I lived in Tomball, raised in Magnolia, went to Magnolia School District my whole life. Me and my wife both graduated from that school.
Yes.
Still live in this community, my children go to this community. Got 4 kids in this school district. Intolerable, unacceptable. We all love our children in here, and that's why we're here today.
Yes.
I thank you for your time. I thank y'all for all y'all coming in here and raising y'all's concern.
The next one is Martha Vasquez. I hope I didn't. Martha? Okay, the next one is Donald Goldsby.
For the sake of time, we consolidated several people in our subdivision, if it's okay with you.
I'm going to piggyback on the safety issue of our transportation. I'm not going to repeat all the unsafe situations our children are being put into, but I also want to bring up the fact that the state of Texas granted every district in the state a certain amount of money, and we're talking millions of dollars. It depended on the district's rating, how they did on their scores, of course, and the need that they had. And I will tell you that Magnolia is not at the top of this, of acceleration in our district. I mean, they're not at the top, but we are a good district. That being said, they got millions of dollars this year. Where is that money going? And we still have to cut? We got more money this year and we're cutting funds at the sake of our children's safety. So you're the money you're saving on the transportation, where's that money going? Where is the millions of dollars that the state has awarded you this year? It's not going into the classrooms. I was told we're saving money on transportation so that we can put it into the classrooms. Ask a teacher in Magnolia ISD if they got anything extra in their classroom this year. So putting the safety of our children above it should be put above saving money. I don't care how much money you're saving, the safety of our children comes first. So I'm asking the board to reevaluate your current bus routes for alternative situations, for alternatives that are safe, and get input from your bus drivers. Get input from the people that live in this community before making any decisions without telling us days before school starts.
Carolyn Lampert.
I'm here to speak on behalf of my grandchildren. That I have two under the age of 16. One's 13, one's 15 right now. They're in different Magnolia schools. One's west of Magnolia, one is east. The young one lives in my subdivision. There's no, like before, no sidewalks. We flood out there. A lot of times the road is underwater. So once the bus drops them off and goes, what's going to say? What if they do when they get down there to the water? You know, go through it, walk through it, swim through it. There's a lot of problems out there. And 5:30 in the morning is too early for a 13-year-old to be walking down there by herself. The other granddaughter has almost 2 miles to walk. What do they do if it's pouring down rain, lightning, thunder? What do? They go to school wet or cold and wet? This is unacceptable. I just can't believe this has happened. We've been out there 25 years. We have a turnaround. If the previous commissioner from like 22 years ago wouldn't have allowed a man down the end of the road to fence in the cul-de-sac some with his own property, this wouldn't have happened. The bus would have had plenty of time, a space to turn around. But because the commissioner at the time allowed this to be fenced off, the bus does have a problem. She turns into a drive and has to back up. Well, they're doing the same thing now. Once they get over the railroad tracks in this addition, they're having to turn back up and turn around, and there's 2 buses there now getting in the way of each other. I sometimes, and I'm not able to go down there every day to pick them up. My husband's ill, and I have to take him to the doctor, and I'm not a young person myself, so it's hard.
Ms. Lampert, your time is up.
I figured that. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is Rodrigo Guadalupe Romaldo.
Good afternoon, buenas tardes. So, I'd like to say that I hate to waste y'all's time, but please don't waste our time. Just tell us if you're gonna do something about it. I know you have an agenda, but please don't waste our time. Y'all saved $600,000, possibly even $900,000 on these bus changes that y'all made, and with good faith. I understand that. It's going to the classrooms, but at the expense of the safety of our children, of our brothers and sisters, of the community, that's unacceptable.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I mean, I know it takes a lot of responsibility to do what y'all do. It takes a lot of commitment. I appreciate that and I applaud you. But you have to take in consideration that we're all united in this decision. There's really no need for you to go further on with this discussion. Just tell us, what more information do you want from us? What more evidence do you want from us? We have photos, we have videos. I have over 400 petitions for my neighborhood alone, not limited. Not limited to the people that were affected, but limited to my physical ability to not be able to go all around ISD.
Yes.
Thank you.
We can help you with that. I'm sure everybody
I got
in this room would help.
videos, I got videos.
We can get it quiet for a moment. Pauline Mendoza is next.
Come on, Pauline.
I didn't really think I was gonna get called.
All right, we're from Decker Hills. We live off of Dobbin Huff Smith. And y'all know that traffic we have out there on Dobbin Huff Smith in the mornings. It is ridiculous. I invite y'all to come over and walk down my subdivision at 5 o'clock in the morning with them children. One of them that's not even listed on DPS's website yet because they're my neighbor. Kids have to walk past them. It is ridiculous. You wouldn't believe the traffic. And the transportation superintendent, Larry, whatever his name is, was standing out there loading up the elementary kids 3 buses. While cars were
making right-hand turns illegally with the kids loading on our buses. And he wouldn't do a damn thing about it.
That's right.
We couldn't even get the sheriff out there. There are over 100 students catching the high school and junior high bus out there at 6 in the morning. It is unbelievable. There's gangs, there's drugs, they're vaping, the kids are vaping in the morning because the parents can't come down there with them. I can't confront them, I'm only one person. I need help. And then y'all moved to elementary buses, y'all consolidated to 3 stops instead of 10, that is wonderful. We got the elementary kids away from that highway we have Dobbin Huff Smith. But the problem we have now, if you were able to get 3 buses consolidated from 10 stops, why can you not do the junior high and the high school the same way? There's nothing wrong with it. We got some good bus drivers, and them little heifers were backing them buses up like you wouldn't believe this morning. They are some of the best bus drivers we have. I love them people driving my kids to school. I have no problem. I'll even help them back that bus up. Have no problem with it. Come to Dobbin Huff Smith and Decker Hills at 5 o'clock in the morning. I will walk with you. Bring your sticks, because you're going to need them. We have dogs.
Ms. Mendoza, your time is up.
We have men walking down our street that are unknown sex offenders.
That's right.
Here you go. That's your deal,
Okay, the next one I believe is Kelly Hamilton.
I have an issue. My son has to walk 1.2 miles, one street light at 6 o'clock in the morning to get to the bus stop, 6:44, the 10 minutes prior that he's supposed to be there in case the bus comes early. How is that safe for my child or any child in here? I mean, it's unacceptable. I was told it was for construction 5 years from now that they're planning for. Never did they mention about the budget, that they're trying to save money. Tell me how that is fair. What would you do if that was your child? Would you be here right now standing? Or would you just be sitting there twiddling your fingers? I mean, I really don't know what to do. I moved out here because it was a safer environment for my child. Now it's one of the worst environments for my child.
Yes, it is.
Nathan Brusso.
I've actually heard most of my issues addressed already, except for the fact that the way we were informed about these decisions, not getting it, we got an email right before school started saying that the buses would be changed and that it had already been done though. We weren't informed about there was this coming up on the agenda. We weren't informed in a timely manner. I would like to see something changed there to where we are allowed to know what's gonna be on the agenda. Also, how do we get on the agenda? Because when I called and asked about that, they totally ignored that question. They just said, show up here tonight at 6:15 and you can get on the, you can say your piece. But that was the only satisfaction I was given. And so, I think something should change there. We should at least be transparent enough that we can get on an agenda eventually and know when we can get voted on. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Okay, the next one is Jessica Popsha. Sorry if I didn't get that pronunciation right.
All right, just like the rest of you guys, it's transportation. I've actually been out here 2 years, but due to a layoff, I no longer commute to Houston, so I moved my son out here, so I'm very excited about that. Until I called for over a week to find out what my son's bus would be, where the pickup would be, what time it would be, and nobody would call me back. Contacted the school and was told, call transportation. Okay, that's who I've been calling. Fantastic. So, I live in a little neighborhood. Any of y'all know Cripple Creek? It's small, it's older neighborhood, but younger couples are moving in with kids. Every year, I've been there 2 years, they drive past our street all the way to the end, there's a turnaround, turn around, come back up. This year they decide, once you come in 2 streets, that's it. They're gonna take a detour to go around the park. My son says they don't do any pickup or drop-offs. They use it to turn around and then pick you up on the lane. Well, that's great, except for all the kids catching the bus are at least half a mile to 1.2 miles away, including elementary school kids. There's no, sorry, I shake when I get nervous. There are no sidewalks. There are very few street lights. It is a rural neighborhood. It's a nice neighborhood, but guess what? They built that fantastic, they widened the road, right? They built that new gas station, well, now all the crackheads and whatnot, and sex offenders, drinking people. They like to come from Casey Hollow and walk through our neighborhood to get to the gas station, because it's safer for them to come through our neighborhood than it is to walk the main street. Yet, you want our kids to walk on main streets in the dark with animals. And that is 2 blind curves. When you come from the back of the neighborhood, there's 2 curves. You can't be seen. I've almost been hit in a minivan, and minivan's a hell of a lot bigger than a 12-year-old. And those who are saying, oh, you know, at least you have a boy, sex offenders don't care, pedophiles don't care. It's a piece of A, and they'll go after it. My sister was almost abducted by human traffickers 6 years ago.
Your time is up.
They're out there.
That's right.
Shannon Johnson.
Hello, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the board for allowing us this time to discuss this issue with the bus routes. I too have many of the same concerns. I'm the mother of an 8-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. And like many of you, I work. My husband works out of town, so he's not home. So I have to rely on other people to help me with my children and getting them to school and back. They would have to walk about 1.5 miles to and from their bus station on a narrow road with no lights at all. Every residence is 5+ acres wide, and the ditches are very deep. There's no sidewalks, and nobody's mentioned snakes out here. And as being in the medical field, if you get bit by a snake, you don't always get antivenom. And then when a child gets bit, even by an adult snake, critical can come very quickly. I also wanted to ask about the quote that is on the website. It says, in quotes, whatever it takes. That means, does that mean whatever it takes to cut budgets and save money? Because I really thought that meant getting my kids to and from school safely. Amen. Tell me if I'm misread. Furthermore, the street that I live on has doesn't have a cul-de-sac, but there was the resident at the very end who's lived there for well over 40 years, built a driveway outside on the street with a good-sized culvert for the bus to safely pull in and back up and go back down the street, and able to pick my kids up at their house. There's no reason why that bus, after 40 years, should not be allowed to come to the end of my road. Thank you.
Stacy Hensick is next.
Nothing drives me crazier than looking at my husband and talking to him and having him not respond. And that is true for my 11-year-old as well. And so I just want to remind all of us here that you're speaking to the school board, and I know these people, and they're hearing you, and they will respond. But right now, because of the Texas Open Meetings Act and the laws around that, they can't respond to you. And so know that they're hearing you. And there are concerns about the buses. And I have all good faith that y'all are gonna deal with it and work on it. And so I want to remind us all about some of the positive things that our district does. Because some of us moved here because of the schools, or stayed here because of the schools and because of the district. And I went to this event this summer, the Reading Jubilee, and our family had a great time. And I don't know if y'all remember, but it got rained out when it was supposed to happen, and it got rescheduled for the summer. And I told my husband and my daughter, we've got to make sure and go because it got rescheduled to the middle of summer, and people may not come. And I was all worried about like thousands of hot dogs being there uneaten. And we showed up, and it was packed, and it was crowded. And we got these great bags and books for the summer and all kinds of more popcorn than I needed to eat and all kinds of amazing things. And so I applaud the people that made that happen and hope you can pass it along to them. And then it was really great that I had this bag that I stole from my child because a few weeks later I broke my leg. And so when I was on crutches, I used this backpack, and I'm still using it today. And so I'm thankful for all the ways that our district serves us. So thank you all.
Thank you. Ginger Russell? We need quiet. We need quiet. Ginger Russell?
Hi, I'm Ginger Russell, and I have no children in the district, and I'm not here to speak to them. I'm here to speak to all of y'all. I've been involved in education for a long time at different levels and throughout the state of Texas. School boards are masters at deception, and they're masters of keeping things hidden from you. And Stacy, yeah, they're hearing, but it will go in one ear and out the next.
Amen. Amen.
I will be shocked if any of them showed up at your school route. And let me tell you, these meetings are recorded, and what I have found from other things that have gone on over the school years is that if one of them are speaking behind this podium, the camera will be right here. If there's an outrage or parents are upset, I've had the electricity turned off, the video was not done. I've also had the camera will be moved somewhere else so you can hear the parents, but you can't see them on the video. So I would like to tell you that, and my name is Ginger Russell, remember that. We have 2 school board members that are up for re-election in the spring. Neither one of them are here today. I had a phone call from the transportation department this morning. There are 22 bus routes that have been canceled. There's an increase in the transportation budget from 1819 to 636,000. The bus drivers are not happy with this. They want to go pick up your kids. They've done a no turnaround thing, and it's strictly the school board and the administration. The transportation department did not make that rule, and the bus drivers are not happy with it. So I wish y'all luck. I'm glad I don't have kids here right now. And my name is Ginger Russell. Thank you.
April Sharp is next. April Sharp? Ms. Sharp? Okay. Jennifer Fox? I don't know if I got that pronunciation right. Joshua Colt?
Good evening. Fairly obvious what I'm here to talk about. I've been in education for 12 years now. I've been at the elementary level, I've been at the high school level, I've been a district administrator. I understand why some decisions are made. Not every decision is going to be perfect. What we're asking you to do is to reassess the situation. This is my 10-year-old daughter. I've had a couple thousand of her come through my classroom over the years. She comes home to me, says, "Dad, I don't feel safe walking down the street." How do you tell a 10-year-old, sorry baby, there's nothing I can do? Now, I've sat with some people in this room at a table who told me that the reason they work in this district is because they care about kids, they're devoted to kids, doing what's best for kids. I believe them. So I believe that y'all will reassess this situation and fix the issue. Because it's not right that I have to worry. I went and bought a Ring doorbell just so I can see my kid coming down the street now. Because I don't know now, I don't know when she's gonna get home. I don't know what's gonna happen to her down that road. And like I said, there's sex offenders everywhere. Anything can happen. And now these are the conversations I'm having to have with a 10-year-old.
That's right.
It's egregious. And I ask that y'all really look and see what's going on. Take everybody's comments here to heart. Don't just let it go in one ear and out the other. And I challenge you, park your car 1.5 miles down the road.
Right?
Every day, every single day, and make that walk.
Randall Tacker.
My name is Randall Tacker. I live on Connie Street. It's a dead-end street. It does have a cul-de-sac. It has a turnaround. The bus has been coming through there and turning around, but no problems. There's 8 other children on that street besides my daughter. I cannot believe, I really can't get it through my head that you're gonna put money over the safety of all our children. It just really, shame on you. Shame on you.
Jennifer Briggs. Jennifer Briggs. Karen Osgood.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pretty much going to reiterate everything I've heard tonight. All of you have made very good points. And I just want to add a couple more things. I run a registered daycare out of my home. In the morning, I have to take a couple of kids to meet the bus. Now, I live right off Nichols Sawmill, which is extremely busy. Not only that, but it's prone to flooding. But when I take these kids to meet the bus, I'm not just taking them. I'm taking all the other kids that I have with me. The ones that are under 4, that don't go to school yet. Out in 100-degree weather, if it's raining, I gotta take them in that. I mean, I don't have a car big enough to put them in. Never mind car seats. Nichols Sawmill is very busy. I take my grandsons down there too. And I worry about the safety of the kids. And I worry about myself too, because you know, I could get hit as well. But they have made a lot of good points here tonight. There's sex offenders out there. I'm very worried about that. The first day of school, when the bus dropped off these kids, I saw a little boy. He couldn't have been more than 5 years old, walking home by himself. That's unacceptable. That sign over there says, dedicated to be the best district in the state of Texas. I used to believe that. Something has got to be changed. This is unacceptable. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to take a few moments to address a few things that we've heard. First of all, you must know if we were to adhere to our policy, which we did not, it's 30 minutes for audience participation and 5 minutes apiece, that's 6 people. And we chose tonight to listen to everyone that wanted to speak. We can't stay up here obviously all night,
You
so
didn't
we
put
have
out
to limit
notice
it.
that people had to sign up to speak, so no, you didn't.
I didn't know I could speak.
The way,
We couldn't get a call back.
okay, we'll stop this right now.
Don't pat yourself on the back.
The way that this works is that you follow administrative channels to speak, and you sign up to speak before the meeting. I think that's very clear. That's spelled out in our policy also.
There wasn't enough papers either.
There was nothing sent out. It was spread across Facebook by the school's website.
I'll tell you what, if we keep getting comments, we're gonna take our break and move on to the next section of our
Of course,
agenda.
our tax monies are paid, so yeah, you're gonna take a break.
We
You're
chose to listen to the people who wanted to speak, every one of them, and
Sir, just say what you're going to do about it, and then we'll all just leave and have our peace. Just say what you're gonna do about it.
first of all, this was presented to us in a July board meeting. We did not go through an approval process, it was a review process where we were first made aware of any changes in the bus routes whatsoever. So that's the history of it. You need to know that this is not about money. That's the key thing that I kept hearing over and over again. We're gonna save all this money. We do save.
Safety either, so what is it?
Okay. Stop. We do save money by not hiring other bus drivers, but here's the issue. We cannot find enough bus drivers. If we could find enough bus drivers, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'll make applications of it. If you guys want to be part of the solution instead of the problem, you can apply. So this is not about money. This is not about money. This is about the fact that we cannot get our hands on enough bus drivers to do a good job for our district.
Excuse me, you raised our taxes, so we are paying more for bus drivers to be paid.
Yeah.
You raised our taxes. We got more money for the state.
Okay, we're gonna take a break. At this point, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. And anybody of you who want to leave before we start the business section of the meeting are free to do so. Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll resume our meeting. Moving on to our consent agenda. This portion of the agenda consists of items that are routine that we go through each month. It'll be enacted by one motion, and we've had a chance to review all these unless separate discussion is requested. So, do we have any questions about agenda items 7A through E? Is that good? All right, so I need a motion that we approve consent agenda items 7A through E. Kelly, motion, seconded by Travis. All in favor? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, so on to our considered agenda, and our first presenter is Dr. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Blizzard, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure this evening to present the final 2019 budget and tax rate presentation to the Board of Trustees. We'll move through this fairly quickly. Before we get into any of the discussion on the budgets and the tax rate, I think there's two primary things to recall tonight for the board, and that is that we are proposing the adoption of balanced budgets tonight in a separate agenda item, and we are decreasing the tax rate by 7 pennies. So, we'll talk a little bit about the three primary funds that by law do require board approval, and then we'll talk about the tax rates. So first off, our general operating fund, which obviously is used to pay for the day-to-day operations of the school district. And I'm going to hit just on a couple of the 10,000-foot changes that we've seen versus the 2018-19 tax year, and then we'll look at some numbers. And then, of course, at the conclusion of the presentation, we'll allow for public comment to address the board as well. On the revenue side, obviously, we have seen a substantial increase in revenue as a result of House Bill 3. Kudos to our state legislators for doing what is right finally by public education. And we'll also see some revenue increase due to student enrollment growth projections. We grew just over 200 students this year, and we're expecting an increase of approximately 175 students based on demographer input for 1920. Also, we are ending the year position, the end of year 18-19 in a favorable position, particularly on the revenue side of things, as a result of very conservative revenue projections at the beginning of the year, primarily associated with student enrollment growth and program growth, some due to special education as well. So on the expenditure side of things, obviously, as it relates to being in a service-oriented industry, as well as the requirements of House Bill 3, we've attempted to build a very competitive compensation package for all of our employees. In relation to House Bill 3 requirements, we have focused those dollars into our classroom as well. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But compensation package increase includes 5% raise for our veteran teachers, those with 6+ years of experience, a 4% raise for administrators district-wide, and a 4.5% raise for all other employees, which includes teachers with 0 to 5 years of experience, or our younger teachers, as well as all other employees, such as our hourly people or other professionals that do not fit into either of the other two categories. Okay. Also, in an effort to spend the dollars as intended by House Bill 3, but also to protect the district in subsequent years, uncertainties in terms of funding, we have created a one-time employee retention incentive, which many of the other larger districts in the area are doing as well, which again is focused on our teachers. We're giving, or will be paying November 15th, right before Thanksgiving, kind of a feel good and thank you for working for our district approach. Paying $1,000 to our veteran teachers, those with 6+ years of experience, $750 to our teachers with 0 to 5 years of experience, and then $500 to all other employees excluding administrators. Administrators will not receive a bonus. Questions on that? Also, in looking at health insurance, obviously it's something that goes up from year to year. It's something that we've tried to stay ahead of as best we can, and based on the money available, and the board will recall this, we are recommending a $50 increase in health insurance contribution for a total on a monthly basis of $350. That kind of puts us in the top, I would say, 20% of districts in the state of Texas in terms of that from a district employer perspective. And we know just how meaningful that $50 is in particular to some of our hourly employees. In addition to that, in an attempt to also curb the open positions that we have on the transportation side of things, we have increased the driver pay structure from $15 an hour to $17 an hour in an attempt to remain more competitive, and also close that gap of open positions where we ended last year with 15 open positions. Also added some positions, of course, many positions related to HB3 requirements, primarily for pre-K. We're required to offer full-day pre-K, which is something we've wanted to require for years, or to have, and we finally have the funds to do so. We've also added some positions related to student and program enrollment growth, in particular from a special ed perspective, where statewide we're seeing an influx of qualifying students based on some availability there. And lastly there, we have reinstated some positions that were previously cut. And just to give a couple examples of that, and this dates back to the 2011 cuts from state aid purposes. We, at that point in time, since 2011, in particular in our elementary campuses, we were having our music and our art teachers having to go to multiple campuses and teach those classes, and obviously that's not the best approach for our kids. And so these are some of the things that we've reinstated that we're very, very, very proud of as well. And then finally, we've added some money for capital projects for Mr. Bruner to take care of our capital asset needs, approximately $400,000 there. So, any questions on that page from the board? And so now we'll go into the monetary view, and this is the document that was posted on our webpage for all of our patrons to view. And it shows by accounting object revenue and by accounting function, the expenditure side of things. And it also shows a comparison of how we spend our dollars on a percentage basis and a per student basis from 18-19 to 19-20, okay? And then in the far right, and I did not have the information available to compare 1920, but I did want to show how we spend our dollars on a percentage basis versus the state average in the same year for 18-19. A couple of things I'll point out on that. Obviously, with the increase from House Bill 3 in state aid, you'll see the percentage shift of state aid from 37% to 41%, which is one of the intentions of the bill for the state of Texas to take on a heavier burden of revenue for public school districts. And then a couple of other items that we like to focus on that we're proud of in terms of how we spend our dollars. If you look at Function 11, instruction, on the expenditure side of things, you'll notice that the average district in the state of Texas spends 58% or 58 cents of every dollar directly on instruction and in the classroom. And in 18-19, we spent 59%. And in 19-20, we're spending 60% of our money directly in the classroom. A couple of other items, as you look down the list that we're proud of, and the board knows that we talk about these each and every year. General administration costs, which are the costs at a district administration level. You'll see that the average district in the state of Texas spends 5% of their budget on general administration costs, and we only spend 3%. It's something that we're very proud of. We're lean, but it's something that we're very proud of, that we're cognizant of each and every year. Any questions on that?
Eric, what does that mean from a dollars, if you're talking about dollar standpoint?
It's a good question, Dr. Moffitt. From a monetary perspective or a per student basis, the average district spends approximately $170 more per student than what we do on administration, which if you put that in relation to 13,100 students, we could be spending approximately an extra $2.2 million directly on instruction and still only be at the average mark for the state of Texas. So, you know, something that we're proud of, for sure. Okay, if there's no other questions on the general fund by the board, we'll move forward. As we transition into our debt service fund, I wanted to point out a couple of key items that we're proud of as well, based on our aggressive pay down approach of debt, voter approved debt for building facilities and so forth. This is a view of how we rank with other districts in the area, and this is at the end of the 17-18 school year. And so obviously we've not added any debt since then, and we've also paid some debt down early, so our picture will be even more favorable at the end of 18-19 on this. But again, as we relate to some of the others, we were under 15,000 and now we're closer to 12,000 per student. So I think it's a good place to be. I think our taxpayers would appreciate that as well. And so here is just a quick view. I know the board is aware of this, but in the past, in 2018-19 school year, we identified the opportunity to pay some debt off early based on available funds without increasing the tax rate. And in doing so, we saved approximately $318,000 in interest. And in the 19-20 school year, we've identified another opportunity, again, without having to increase the INS tax rate, to pay off some debt early and save $1.2 million. So if you look at this, you'll notice in a 3-year span, we have created a plan, an aggressive debt paydown plan that allows us to remove almost $20 million from our debt picture and save our taxpayers in the school district $3.4 million. In particular, as you look at the 2020, we're paying off early. The series 2012 we're paying down early. You'll look down that column and note that moves the maturity date from August of 2030 down to August of 2022. So that's something that we're very proud of as well. Any questions on that?
And this is all voter approved?
Yes, ma'am. It's voter approved debt for building facilities. Yes, ma'am. And so here's the debt service fund. Obviously, when we're identifying our requirements for debt in current year, and then also what may be available without having to increase the INS tax rate to pay down debt early, the first question is how much revenue are we going to generate? And based on our property values, the 33-cent tax rate that we'll be proposing later, and a reasonable collection percentage, we know that we'll generate almost $23 million. And so based on that, we've, like I mentioned on the previous page, we're not only taking on the debt requirement for the year, but we're paying off debt early without having to increase the tax rate. Okay? So again, a balanced budget, second budget, balanced budget. Our food service fund, very, very simple, and this is another thing that we're proud of. Mr. Devies, Ms. Ollendorf do a fantastic job. The average district in the state of Texas has to supplement their food service fund because of a deficit, and that's not something that we have to do, yet our rates are very reasonable in terms of breakfast and lunch cost. In terms of changes versus the previous year, ultimately the raises and bonuses are embedded in this, and that is the only change. But again, we'll be proposing a balanced budget here in just a few. Finally, just a quick history of tax rates. It may surprise some folks that we capped out way back in the 98-99 school year at a total tax rate of $1.75. And we have maintained the same tax rate of just under $1.38 for the past 4 years. Obviously, based on the requirements of House Bill 3, we have decreased we'll be proposing a decrease on the M&O side of 7 pennies, and then maintaining the INS tax rate. So the overall tax rate will decrease by 7 pennies. Any questions on that?
With another decrease expected?
Yes, sir. It's a great comment, Dr. Stevens. We do anticipate, and we don't know what the number will be yet, but in the subsequent year, there will be additional tax rate compression resulting from House Bill 3. In all likelihood, it will go down to somewhere in the 92-cent range, so another 5-penny decrease on the tax rate.
Eric, does that get them back to what they used to spend?
It's making headway, Mr. Adcock. I think it will still take a number of years, and it'll be interesting to see what the funding looks like at the end of this biennium, with fear of the unknown. But it is heading in the right direction, and even the percentage makeup, looking at back at the budget, is favorable. So the change. Okay, unless there are any other questions by the Board of Trustees, we will.
Any more questions, guys?
We will close the presentation, and then Mr. Blizzard need to move into the public comment section.
Yes, exactly, and I'll read a few things about that. So at this time, thank you, sir. At this time, we're going to go into a public hearing regarding the 2019 and 2020 proposed budget. And we're going to now open the mic for public hearing portion of this meeting for anybody who has any comments regarding his presentation. Now, it's not a Q&A session. It's a comment section where you can make any comments to what Dr. Morris has presented. So we'll open up the mic for that.
No, you can just speak from there.
Okay, so if you could go back to the graph where you showed how the taxes have been going down the past few years, where is that information from?
This information is just a historical view from our audits for the past 20 years, and it's simply factual. So,
I know I can make graphs all day too, but where is that information from? Website, government agency?
There is information about our tax rate that you can find on the Texas Education website.
Like that?
Well, it won't be in this format. This is what I built, but it does have our prior year M&O and INS tax rates.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Dr. Fullerton?
Well, this is a comment more on the format of the hearing than it is on the budget itself. I'm very disappointed that you're discouraging questions. It seems to me that I probably am as knowledgeable as anybody outside the school district and the school board about what's going on, because I attend most meetings. I ask questions of administrators who are always very gracious in answering my questions. But there's an asymmetry of information. Dr. Morris, board members, other administrators have all the information that we as citizens don't. And therefore, I think it's important that we be allowed to ask questions so that we can make comments knowing what we're talking about, frankly. And I have a couple of such questions, but it appears that I'm not going to get any answers tonight. Now, it is also clear from board policy that you're allowed to answer in a board meeting in a factual manner. So it's not that anything is prohibiting it, except somebody set up this particular meeting so that we citizens cannot get answers to our questions tonight.
If you have a couple of questions, what are they?
Where are they?
Ask them. Yes, go ahead, sir.
Go for it.
Okay.
The point is, we didn't want to turn this into a big Q&A session. If you have a couple of questions, we're happy to hear what they are.
Okay,
We want
what's
to hear.
wrong with the Q&A session?
Just ask your questions, please.
No, what's wrong with the Q&A session?
Do you have any questions?
I do.
Please ask them.
The first one, I don't understand how this incentive system works. It seems to me that an incentive is something that is paid after performance, not before performance. This is advertised as a one-shot deal. We're giving an incentive, a quote incentive pay to all, I guess, all employees.
Excluding administration.
Yeah. And then they'll disappear in the future. If I'm an employee and I just pocketed my $500 or whatever, where's the incentive? I don't expect to get another 500 next year. That's my first question.
Well, I mean, I would say the incentive is to be employed here on November 15th of this year. I mean, you could call it an incentive or a bonus. It's intended to be a one-time payment thing. You could look at Cy-Fair, Katie, and Klein, they're doing the same thing.
So if others do it, it's okay.
It makes it easier to defend, I'll be honest.
The other question also involves the incentive or bonus system. Will these incentives become part of the base for future pay scale?
No, sir, they will not.
Thank you.
But it will allow us to have more money available in the subsequent year by not rolling it directly into raises in terms of the money that we will have available for raises in the subsequent year.
That's it.
And that's precisely the reason we structured it the way we did, because the one-time incentives won't live on.
That's good. It's a good point, Dr. Fulton. Due to the influx of HB3, we're seeing all of this money in one hit, if you will. And so the increase in the basic allotment has led to a substantial increase in money for 1920, but it's not something where in the subsequent year we're going to see a lot more money. That's when the formulas begin to work. And so ultimately we've created this budget that allows us, because of doing some of the incentive things, instead of reaching out there to do 6% raises and things of that nature, where we feel confident in the subsequent year that we will be able to address some decent raises as well. I think I said what you said again. But, yeah.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, I have a question. Okay, on the special needs program, you said it went up, it increased a little bit. What is that being used for?
The special needs,
Yes.
well, obviously the number of participants that we have in special ed has increased. We added, and this is on another agenda item tonight, we added approximately $800,000 in current year in staffing to respond to those needs. Obviously, we understand that there's some one-on-one requirements and things of that nature. So to answer your question, it is going back into the staffing needs for our special needs program.
But not for the items that they need in the special needs program?
Oh, well, certainly, there's budgetary amounts available for needs as well. So, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
For the special education students, what is the percentage that our district has identified? What is our percentage?
Ms. Wiggins may be able to speak better towards that, but I would say it's probably around 10% if I was guessing.
Are we at 10%?
She just said it's a little over.
I don't know what our district numbers are for the state, but we have approximately 1,450 students.
Based in comparison to 13,400 students, so a little over 10%.
What is the allotment for special ed for each student? Do you have like an amount per special ed student?
We do have an amount. Unfortunately, I do not know offhand exactly what that is, but we are consistent in terms of applying it on a per campus basis based on the number of students that we serve. Yes, ma'am. And I apologize, I don't have that number, but I know that that's our approach.
Okay.
How about one more question?
So this money stuff, does it go like to the school, like for the bathrooms and stuff, that too?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. I mean, the capital outlay budget that I spoke of earlier, we're adding approximately $400,000 to Mr. Brunner. Those are items that money can be used for sure. Yes,
I
ma'am.
have a question about that. Why isn't there like more soap machines in it? There's only one in the restroom, and ugh,
Sure.
I don't like germs or anything.
Please know I'm not laughing at you.
And then
yes.
the door is broken, and then on the walls it says like slut, whore, I want to kill myself. I don't like using the restrooms anymore.
Yes, ma'am. Well,
So
I can tell you that I know our folks are, if they're aware of those types of things, that they'll respond accordingly, and we do have money in the budget to do so. Any other budget or tax rate questions?
In the past, have y'all been in short of budget for school funding, like she said, the restrooms in the past, like last year?
We've adopted balanced budgets every year since I've been here, and that's 11 years now. So
Have y'all been short where y'all can't meet those needs?
No.
As a former high school student, I spent 4 years in high school, and I really didn't see much improvement for sanitation, for cleanliness, or whatnot in the restrooms. Like she said, there's barely any soap dispensers, towels. We can't even dry our hands because some of them don't work. So I don't really see that as a former student in my high school.
Okay, thank you.
sometimes there would be dead bugs on the ground, like it's nasty.
All right, Mr. Blizzard.
Okay, and if there's no other comments, yes, ma'am, one more?
Just on the budget in general, I would like, if the board is considering a TRE vote this year, I would like to maybe see a few more public forums about that. I think kind of the TRE vote got a little railroaded by some outside sources this past year, kind of spreading some false concepts about it, and I think as a whole, a district in a whole, we would have been better served had it passed, that's my personal opinion, but if we'd have had a little bit of a more active campaign, so if we can make it that started a little bit this year, that would be awesome.
Thank you. I will say that HB 3 does not allow TRE in the 1920 school year, but it may in the subsequent years.
And you'll hear about it well before we do it.
Yes, ma'am.
How come we only have 2 cameras on our school buses, one facing the door, one facing the students, and not more, especially cameras on the handicap buses?
I would ask that we address that after the meeting if we could. We want to try to address the items that pertain to what Dr. Morris is.
And I will say, along the lines of Dr. Fullerton's comment earlier, I mean, I am available via email or phone call at any point in time to talk about the budget, okay?
Okay, so if there's no comments, we're going to conclude this hearing, and the time is 8:05. Okay, I think you're still up, Dr. Morris.
Yes, sir. Moving into considered agenda. It is the administration's recommendation that we approve the proposed budget that I just presented for 1920 for a total of just under 147.4 million, general operating fund of 118.3, debt service fund of just under 23 million, and food service fund of just over 6.1 million.
Okay, so any questions, comments? Okay, so I'm going to read this. We need a motion that the board adopt the proposed 2019-20 budgets, like Dr. Morris just said, in the amount of $147,378,671 with general operating fund of $118,292,422, debt service fund of $22,984,860, and food service fund of $6,101,389. Need a motion, Travis? Motion by Travis, seconded by Chuck. All in favor? That motion passes. Okay, you're still up, sir.
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is approval of the maintenance and operations tax rate. We are recommending or proposing board approval tonight for a 97-cent M&O rate, which is a decrease of 7 pennies versus a previous year. I will state briefly, Mr. Blizzard, and I know you're familiar with this, having gone through it several times, but there is specific effective tax rate language that's included in here, which basically suggests that even though we are decreasing our tax rate by 7 pennies, we are generating more money for M&O purposes as it relates to an increase in the appraised values of homes. So it is our recommendation to approve the 97-cent M&O rate.
Okay, before I read this, just for further clarity for those in here, we had a tax rate of just under $1.38. Now it's just under $1.31. It's come down 7 cents. Our tax rate has decreased 7 cents. So with that, I need a motion that the board adopt the 2019 ad valorem tax rate for maintenance and operations of 97 cents per $100 valuation. And I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a total tax rate of 1.3095 per $100, which is effectively a 1.95% increase in the tax rate. This tax rate will raise more taxes for maintenance and operations than last year's rate. Motion by Kelly, seconded by Travis. All in favor? Okay, that motion passes. Thank you, sir. You're still on.
Yes, sir. Next on the item, we are proposing approval of the INS tax rate based on the budget that we presented a few moments ago, and maintaining the same tax rate of 33.95 cents per $100 valuation.
Okay, so we need a motion that the board adopt that 2019 ad valorem tax rate for debt service of 33.97 cents, 33.95 cents per $100 valuation. Travis motion, seconded by Chuck. All in favor? That motion passes too. Okay, keep going, sir.
Okay, now shifting back to 18-19 budget. We have a few items tonight that need to really clean up the three major funds. All of these are things that we've talked about during the summer months, but I'll go over them just very quickly. On page 30, or excuse me, what is it, 39, you'll note in the general fund that starting on the expenditure side of things, that we are proposing increasing the expenses by $900,000. Again, this is in response to the staffing adjustments that we've had throughout the year. We need to clean this up towards the end of the fiscal year. We also know that our state program revenues are going to well exceed that mark, so we're simply increasing both sides of the budget to match for end of year purposes. On the following page, on page 40, we have our debt service fund. And again, this is aligned with the early payoff that we spoke about in budget presentation, where we knew that we were going to identify a specific bond, but we did not approve that or move forward with that until after the budget was adopted. So you'll notice on the expenditure side that we are increasing the overall budget by just under $3.5 million, but in doing so, we're saving roughly $300,000 in interest. And obviously very conservative on the revenue side for tax collections as well. So we're increasing that to more effectively show what we believe the end of year numbers will look like. And ultimately it does result in a slight decrease in our overall INS fund balance, but that's something that we were prepared for. Still very healthy. Finally, our food service fund adopted a balanced budget as we moved forward throughout the year and during the early summer months. We identified that revenue was going to outpace expenses in that fund, so we simply decided to take care of some needs for capital project purposes, capital outlay needs in the food service department for kitchen purposes. Ultimately, again, we are proposing an increase on both sides of the ledger of $150,000 for a balanced budget. And that's it.
That takes care of all three.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Questions, Travis? Any questions? Okay, so for these three, we need a motion that the board approve the 2018-19 end of year budget amendments for the general, debt service, and food service funds for the fiscal year ending August 31st, 2019. Motion by Kelly, seconded by Travis. All those in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
I think that's it, Mr. Blue. Yes, thank you.
You must be out by now.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Blizzard. You should have the blurb in front of you. Just kind of want to remind you, we passed the code of conduct at a board meeting earlier in August. That is posted on the website. We should have the Spanish version up shortly. The handbook is for review only tonight, but we do follow TSAB models, TASB's model, kind of then adapted to our local guidelines. The handbook, as you know, contains information regarding parental rights, procedures in our buildings, and academic information. The big three that didn't change that everybody seems to always call and be concerned about, that is electronic devices, attendance, and dress code. Those three stayed the same as they have in previous years. Legislative session changed far more in the code of conduct, especially in due process, than it changed in the handbook, but there were some changes in the handbook, mainly in the counseling type arenas. Last spring and last fall, we spent some time going through that, and so, just kind of want to thank a couple of people. I know Brandon Garza and Amy Locker and Kendra Wiggins did a lot to help lead a charge to provide more counseling support. So we've kind of covered those additions through a lot of support. So the additions you see in the handbook are already prepared for and ready to go. Just kind of also want to say that there's always, as always, we're looking to clean up the verbiage and make it easier to understand and clear up that wording. But that's really the primary part of what's changed, is just some of those additions in those counseling areas, getting kids in a place where they feel more stable and better to approach school and some of life's bumps. I'll just leave it at that. So, but I just want to, like I said, you have more of the particulars in some of your blurbs, but it's just the explanation of what those counseling arenas are. So just kind of wanted to let you guys know that will be up in the morning. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to call.
Thank you. I mean, the handbook is something, I mean, it obviously doesn't do much good unless we follow it, right? And we appreciate all the leadership that's in here that helps us to follow that. That's the dress code, the electronic policy, and anything else that's in there. I mean, it's only as good as it's followed, right? And we appreciate everybody that helps make that happen.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Okay. No other presentations, I don't think.
I think we're down to, you guys gotta make a decision about delegate.
About a delegate. No bias here. Okay, I'll read this and we'll go through our appointment here. It's time to appoint the delegate and alternate for the delegate assembly that's held in conjunction with the TASA convention in Dallas on Saturday, September 21st. Delegates from each region will meet with the TASB directors, that's Texas Association of School Boards, to discuss the issues coming before the assembly. As a delegate, you will make critical decisions that guide TASB in representing members' interests before state and national policymakers. TASB recommends that we select one of our more experienced members of the board. Last year's delegate was Kelly McDonald, and Christy served as an alternate. So do we have a volunteer for a delegate this year? Kelly's gonna volunteer again. How about an alternate? Chuck, alternate? All right, perfect. Any other comments by anyone else? All right, so we need a motion that the board select Kelly McDonald as delegate and Chuck Adcox as alternate to serve on the 2019 TASB Delegate Assembly. Motion by Sonia, seconded by Travis. All in favor? That motion passes. Thank you both. Okay, at this time, the board will now recess to move into closed executive session for the purposes pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.071 and 551.0821 and 551.129, deliberation of a matter regarding a public school student where personally identifiable information about the student will necessarily be revealed by their deliberation, consultation with school attorney concerning pending litigation and possible settlement of the matter styled Student versus Magnolia ISD, docket number 242-SE-0419, before a special education hearing officer for the state of Texas. Also, Texas Government Code Sections 551.074, personnel discussion and recommendations, and finally, Texas Government Code 551.072, discussion of purchase, sale, exchange, or value of real property. Thank you, guys. You all back? We're good? Okay. I move to accept the recommendation of the superintendent of schools and school district's attorney and to direct the superintendent and school district's attorney to proceed as discussed in closed session in the matter styled Student versus Magnolia ISD, docket number 242-SE-0419, before a special education hearing officer for the state of Texas. Motion by Chuck, seconded by Travis. All those in favor? That motion passes. Okay, so at this time, we're now going to recess to move back into closed executive session for the purposes pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.074, personnel discussion and recommendations, and Texas Government Code 551.072, discussion of purchase, sale, exchange, or value of real property. Okay, we need a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Motion by Chuck, seconded by Sonia. All in favor? Meeting adjourned, 10:30.